In a world filled with distractions, noise, and chaos, it can feel almost impossible to maintain composure. Yet the ancient wisdom of Stoicism teaches us that true strength is not in what we say or do in the moment, but in how we discipline our minds and remain unwavering in the face of life's challenges. What if you could cultivate a sense of calm so powerful that it draws respect, naturally and effortlessly? What if you could become the type of person whose quiet strength commands admiration, not through loud words or grand gestures, but through the power of your actions and your ability to stay true to your principles, no matter the circumstance? This is the heart of Stoic philosophy, learning to master your own mind, to stay quiet in your thoughts and reactions, and to act with integrity. It's about becoming someone who is not shaken by the world, but whose inner peace radiates outward, earning respect from those around you without even trying. In this video, we'll uncover how disciplining your mind, remaining calm, and living by Stoic principles can naturally lead to respect, not through force, but through the quiet, enduring strength of your character. Reason 1. Calm in the face of adversity. The Stoic view on adversity. Adversity is an unavoidable part of life. It's something that can strike without warning, throwing us off balance and testing our very sense of stability. We all experience it, whether it's a personal loss, a professional setback, or an unexpected challenge that threatens our peace. The Stoic philosophy teaches us that adversity isn't something to be feared or avoided. Instead, it's an opportunity to strengthen our character, to prove to ourselves what we are made of. The Stoics didn't see adversity as an obstacle, they saw it as a teacher. They believed that through every challenge, we have the chance to grow, to refine our understanding of who we are, and to rise above our circumstances. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most respected Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This profound wisdom tells us that our struggles, rather than defeating us, actually pave the way for our growth and success, staying calm when the storm hits. When life gets tough, our natural instinct is often to react, to lash out, or to become overwhelmed. The mind races, emotions surge, and we feel like we're losing control. But here lies the beauty of Stoic practice. We don't have to follow those instincts. We have the power to choose how we respond. The first step is recognizing that while we can't control the events around us, we can control how we perceive and react to them. Imagine you're facing a sudden crisis, perhaps a sudden job loss, a personal conflict, or a health scare. Your initial reaction might be panic, frustration, or fear. However, a Stoic approach invites you to pause, take a deep breath, and evaluate the situation from a place of calm. Instead of being swept away by emotions, you choose to observe the situation objectively. What can you control? What can you learn from this moment? This shift in perspective is powerful. It helps you maintain control over your reactions and prevents you from being overwhelmed by external circumstances. The power of perspective. One of the core principles of Stoicism is the power of perspective. By reframing how we see adversity, we can choose to face it with courage and composure. When a difficult situation arises, it's easy to fall into the trap of seeing it as a disaster, something that's working against us. But the Stoic approach encourages us to see adversity as part of life's natural flow, something that can contribute to our personal growth. Take, for example, the story of Epictetus, who was born a slave and endured many hardships in his life. Despite the immense suffering he faced, he was able to view his misfortune not as something that defined him, but as an opportunity to practice virtue. He once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." By adopting this mindset, you shift from a position of helplessness to one of empowerment. Adversity becomes something you can use to test your resilience, to develop your patience, and to refine your inner strength. Mastering your emotions. The Stoic philosophy teaches us that emotions, while natural, should not control us. When we encounter difficulty, emotions like fear, anger, and frustration may rise within us. But these emotions, if unchecked, can cloud our judgment and prevent us from acting wisely. To stay calm in the face of adversity, it's crucial to master our emotions, acknowledging them without letting them dictate our behavior. The practice of apatheia, freedom from passion, is not about suppressing emotions but understanding them, observing them without being controlled by them. By cultivating self-awareness, you can recognize when emotions are beginning to take hold and consciously choose to respond from a place of calm and rationality. The Stoics weren't immune to emotions. They simply learned how to govern them instead of being governed by them. Building resilience through practice. The Stoic teachings on adversity are not meant to be theoretical. They are meant to be lived. It's only through consistent practice that we develop the mental resilience needed to stay calm during life's storms. Every day, in small ways, we can put Stoic principles into action. Whether it's handling a disagreement calmly, accepting a minor inconvenience without frustration, or taking a moment to reflect before reacting, each small victory strengthens our ability to maintain composure during more significant challenges. Resilience is like a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it becomes. Each time you face adversity with calm and clarity, you build your ability to stay unshaken when the stakes are higher. It's not about avoiding difficult situations, but about learning how to face them with grace and poise. The reward of calm. Ultimately, the reward of staying calm in the face of adversity is not just peace of mind. It's also the respect and admiration of others. When you respond to life's challenges with composure, others take notice. They see your strength, your wisdom, and your ability to navigate difficulties without losing your sense of self. This quiet strength is magnetic. It draws respect without ever demanding it. As you cultivate calmness, you'll find that the respect you earn comes not through forceful actions or loud declarations, but through your ability to maintain your inner peace, no matter what life throws at you. Reason 2. The power of self-control. Self-control, the key to personal mastery. Self-control is not just about resisting temptation or avoiding indulgence. It is the foundation of personal mastery, the cornerstone of every Stoic practice. The Stoics believed that our ability to control ourselves, especially our emotions and impulses, is the true measure of our strength. Self-control allows us to navigate life's challenges with purpose and clarity. It frees us from being ruled by external circumstances and places, us firmly in the driver's seat of our own lives. Marcus Aurelius, in his personal meditations, often reflected on the importance of mastering one's mind. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This realization is liberating. It tells us that no matter what happens around us, we have the power to choose our responses. And the key to that power lies in self-control. The battle between desire and discipline. Every day we face countless temptations, small and large, that challenge our ability to maintain control. Whether it's the urge to procrastinate, indulge in unhealthy habits, or give in to anger or frustration, our desires can often pull us in directions we know are not in our best interest. In those moments, we must decide: will we let our impulses control us, or will we take charge of our actions and remain disciplined? The Stoic perspective on desire is clear. They didn't advocate for the complete suppression of all desires. Rather, they believed that we should strive to master our desires, to ensure that they align with our values and long-term goals. In the words of Epictetus, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. By reducing the number of things we crave and focusing on what truly matters, we not only conserve our energy, but also strengthen our capacity for self-control. The role of mindfulness in self-control. Mindfulness is an essential practice in the cultivation of self-control. To be truly in control of ourselves, we must first become aware of our thoughts, emotions, and impulses. Too often we react automatically to situations, driven by old habits or unconscious patterns. But through mindfulness, we can pause before acting, take a moment to reflect, and make a conscious choice about how to respond. Stoic practices like journaling and daily reflection are powerful tools in developing mindfulness. By regularly examining our thoughts and behaviors, we can identify areas where we lack control and work to improve them. Over time, this practice helps us become more attuned to our inner landscape, allowing us to make decisions that are aligned with our higher purpose, rather than being swept away by immediate desires. The discipline of delayed gratification. One of the most powerful tools of self-control is delayed gratification. In today's fast-paced world, we are often conditioned to seek instant rewards. Whether it's the quick pleasure of a snack, the instant gratification of social media, or the impulse to spend money on something unnecessary, we're constantly encouraged to indulge our desires right away. However, the Stoics understood the value of patience and discipline. They believed that true fulfillment comes not from momentary pleasures, but from the pursuit of long-term goals and the strength to resist fleeting desires. By practicing delayed gratification, we train ourselves to resist the pull of immediate satisfaction and focus instead on what truly brings us lasting contentment. This could mean prioritizing health over convenience, focusing on long-term career goals rather than short-term distractions, or investing in personal growth rather than seeking instant pleasure. Every time we choose discipline over indulgence, we reinforce our self-control and become more capable of handling life's challenges with poise and purpose. Self-control in the face of emotions. Emotions are a natural part of being human. They are powerful forces that can either empower us or drive us to irrational actions. Anger, fear, frustration, and anxiety are emotions that can easily spiral out of control. The Stoic approach to emotions is not to deny or suppress them, but to understand them and regulate their influence over our actions. By practicing emotional awareness, we can identify when our emotions begin to take hold of us and take a step back. Rather than reacting impulsively, we can choose to pause, breathe, and reflect before responding. The Stoic exercise of viewing events objectively allows us to detach from the intensity of our emotions and see the situation for what it truly is. This empowers us to act rationally and thoughtfully, rather than being driven by fleeting feelings. The power of habit in self-control. Self-control, like any skill, requires practice. And one of the most effective ways to build and maintain self-control is through the power of habit. The Stoics believed that by consciously cultivating positive habits, we could shape our character and actions over time. Small, consistent actions, repeated daily, have the power to create lasting change. Whether it's waking up early, sticking to a healthy routine, or practicing gratitude each day, these small habits create a foundation of discipline that supports our self-control. By making self-control a habit, we make it easier to exercise it in moments of challenge. The more we practice, the more natural it becomes to stay composed, disciplined, and focused. The reward of self-control. The rewards of self-control are vast and profound. At a basic level, self-control provides peace of mind. When we are in control of ourselves, we experience fewer regrets, less anxiety, and more contentment. But the benefits extend beyond our inner world. Self-control also earns us the respect and admiration of others. People are drawn to those who can remain calm under pressure, who can make thoughtful decisions instead of reacting impulsively. Ultimately, self-control leads to a life of greater purpose and fulfillment. It allows us to focus on what truly matters, to align our actions with our values, and to navigate life's challenges with strength and resilience. Through the practice of self-control, we become the masters of our own destiny, free from the tyranny of our impulses. Reason 3. Consistency in principles. The importance of consistency. In life, one of the most powerful things we can cultivate is consistency. It's not enough to simply know what is right or good. We must live it every day. The Stoic philosophers emphasize that consistency in our principles, our values, our ethics, our behaviors, is the cornerstone of a well-lived life. It's through unwavering consistency that we build trust in ourselves and in our actions, and it's how we earn respect from others. Consistency does not mean rigidness or inflexibility. Rather, it is about aligning our actions with our deeper values and remaining steady in our commitment to them, regardless of the challenges we face. Life will always throw obstacles in our path, and it's in those moments of difficulty that our principles are tested. It is then, more than ever, that our consistency matters the most. Living with integrity. At the heart of consistency is integrity, the commitment to align our actions with our beliefs. When we live with integrity, our actions are an honest reflection of who we are and what we stand for. Stoicism teaches that we should not be swayed by the external world, by fame, fortune, or approval. Our value should be defined by our internal principles, and it's those principles that should guide us, regardless of the circumstances. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, constantly reminded himself in his meditations to act with honesty, humility, and justice. He believed that living in accordance with one's true nature was the only path to genuine fulfillment. This kind of integrity requires constant self-reflection and a commitment to doing what is right, even when it's difficult. It's about being true to your word and living authentically. The power of small, consistent actions. Consistency doesn't require grand gestures or heroic feats. In fact, it's often the smallest everyday actions that matter most. Every moment offers us a choice. Will we act according to our principles, or will we deviate? It's easy to take shortcuts in the moment, to justify actions that aren't aligned with our values, but these small deviations compound over time. Just as tiny drops of water can carve through rock, small consistent actions can shape the course of our lives. The Stoics understood this well. They didn't wait for a crisis to reveal their character. They prepared by practicing their principles daily in all circumstances. Whether it was showing kindness to others, exercising patience, or acting with fairness, each day presented an opportunity to reinforce who they were and what they believed in. By being consistent in these small actions, they ensured that their principles became the fabric of their lives. The challenge of staying consistent. Consistency is not always easy. Life is unpredictable. People let us down, things don't go as planned, and temptations are always lurking around the corner. In such moments, it's natural to question whether maintaining our principles is worth the effort. The Stoics would remind us, however, that the pursuit of consistency is not about avoiding difficulty. It's about embracing the challenge and staying true to what we know is right, no matter the circumstances. When we face adversity, our principles are the anchor that keeps us grounded. Without them, we risk being swept away by emotions, impulses, or external pressures. Consistency in our principles requires courage and resilience. It means doing the right thing, even when it's difficult, and staying committed to our values, even when it's inconvenient. The role of self-discipline in consistency. Self-discipline plays a critical role in maintaining consistency. It's the muscle that enables us to stay true to our principles when we are tempted to act otherwise. Discipline doesn't mean forcing ourselves to do things we dislike. Rather, it's the conscious decision to act in accordance with our higher purpose, even when it's hard. The Stoics believed that true freedom came from self-discipline, the ability to control our thoughts, our actions, and our responses. This kind of discipline requires practice and intentionality. By setting clear goals, establishing routines, and holding ourselves accountable, we can reinforce the consistency of our actions. Discipline gives us the strength to persist, even when it's easier to give up or take the path of least resistance. The reward of consistency. The rewards of consistency are both external and internal. Externally, consistency builds trust. When others see that we live according to our principles, they are more likely to trust us and respect us. Consistency leads to a reputation for reliability, honesty, and integrity, qualities that are valued in all aspects of life, from personal relationships to professional endeavors. Internally, consistency fosters peace of mind. When we act in harmony with our values, we experience a deep sense of fulfillment and self-respect. There is no inner conflict, no regret, no second-guessing. We become the architects of our own character, and over time, the consistency of our actions strengthens our sense of purpose and direction. We begin to see the results of our efforts, not just in the world around us, but in our own hearts and minds. Consistency in the face of change. While consistency is essential, it's important to note that it doesn't mean rigidly adhering to the same actions or principles in every situation. The Stoics understood that life is ever-changing, and the ability to adapt is a key part of staying consistent. Our principles may remain the same, but how we apply them may need to adjust based on the circumstances we face. For example, the principle of justice might call us to stand up for others, but how we do so will depend on the situation. The principle of kindness may prompt us to help a friend, but the way we offer assistance will differ depending on the needs of the moment. Consistency in principles doesn't mean being inflexible. It means applying the right principle at the right time, in the right way, and doing so with integrity. A life defined by consistency. To live consistently with our principles is to live a life of purpose and meaning. It is the path to a life of integrity, respect, and inner peace. Through small, everyday actions, through discipline and self-awareness, we can align our behavior with our values. We can withstand the trials of life with grace and clarity, knowing that we are acting in accordance with our deepest beliefs. By committing to consistency in our principles, we not only shape our own lives, but we also influence the world around us. We become beacons of stability, trust, and moral strength, guiding others by the example of our unwavering commitment to what is right. Reason 4. Focus on what we can control. The power of focus. In life, it's easy to get caught up in the things we cannot change, whether it's the actions of others, the direction of the economy, or the unpredictability of the future. These things are beyond our control, yet we often expend significant energy worrying about them. The Stoics teach us that true peace comes from focusing on what is within our control and letting go of everything else. The more we shift our attention to what we can control, the more we free ourselves from unnecessary stress and frustration. This powerful concept is central to Stoic philosophy. By focusing on what we can influence, our thoughts, actions, and responses, we take ownership of our lives. We realize that external events, while often beyond our control, do not define our happiness or well-being. It is our attitude towards these events and how we choose to respond that truly shapes our lives. The serenity of acceptance. Acceptance is not about passivity or resignation. It is about acknowledging reality as it is, without resistance. Stoicism teaches that we should accept the things we cannot control and focus our efforts on those aspects of life where we can make a difference. By doing so, we create a sense of inner calm, knowing that we are investing our energy where it matters most. This principle is beautifully captured in the famous Serenity Prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. True serenity comes when we embrace the things outside our control with grace and direct our energy to what we can influence. Control of the self. Perhaps the most important thing we can control is ourselves, our thoughts, our actions, and our reactions. We can choose how we respond to external circumstances, how we treat others, and how we carry ourselves in difficult situations. The Stoics believed that we must constantly refine our character and discipline our minds. This is the foundation of true freedom, the ability to act according to our values, no matter what happens around us. Our thoughts are the seeds of our actions. By focusing on controlling our thoughts, cultivating positive, constructive, and rational thinking, we lay the groundwork for intentional actions. When we allow ourselves to be carried away by negative emotions or irrational beliefs, we lose our power. But when we actively choose to control our minds and emotions, we gain clarity and peace. Letting go of external validation. In a world that constantly pushes us to seek external validation through achievements, status, or approval from others, it can be easy to forget that our sense of self-worth should not depend on these fleeting things. What others think of us is beyond our control. but how we value ourselves is entirely within our hands. By focusing on our inner compass and staying true to our own standards, we liberate ourselves from the pursuit of external validation. The Stoics believed that our self-worth should be anchored in our virtue, not in how others perceive us. By focusing on our own character and integrity, we free ourselves from the need to impress others or conform to societal expectations. This shift in focus leads to a more peaceful and grounded life, where our worth is not dependent on the external world. Accepting impermanence. One of the most challenging things to accept is the impermanence of life. People change, circumstances shift, and things do not always go according to plan. This is a natural part of life, but it is also something we can control in how we respond to it. By accepting impermanence, we free ourselves from the anxiety of trying to control the uncontrollable. The Stoics often meditated on the transient nature of life. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reflects on how everything in life is temporary. Our successes, our challenges, our relationships. Understanding this reality helps us focus on what truly matters, how we live each moment, how we treat others, and how we uphold our values in the face of change. By embracing impermanence, we stop fighting against the natural flow of life and instead find peace in letting go. Practical steps to focus on what we can control. So how do we start focusing on what we can control? The first step is awareness. Take a moment to reflect on the things that are causing you stress or frustration. Ask yourself, is this something I can control? If the answer is no, then it's time to let it go. Accept it and turn your attention to what you can influence. The next step is to develop a routine of self-discipline. Begin by practicing small daily actions that are within your control. This might include setting aside time for self-care, sticking to a workout regimen, or practicing gratitude. These small actions help you build momentum and reinforce your sense of agency. The Stoics also recommended daily reflection, a practice that helps you assess your actions, thoughts, and emotional responses. Take time at the end of each day to reflect on how you handled situations, what you could have controlled better, and what you did well. This allows you to continuously refine your approach and stay focused on what is within your power. The freedom found in control. There is a profound freedom in focusing on what we can control. When we stop trying to control everything, our circumstances, other people, the future, we free ourselves from the burden of expectations. We begin to see that true freedom is not about external circumstances, but about our ability to choose how we respond to them. By focusing on the things within our control, we begin to live with purpose, clarity, and peace. We no longer feel helpless in the face of life's uncertainties. Instead, we recognize that we have the power to shape our own experiences through our thoughts, actions, and attitudes, mastering what we control. In the end, the Stoic practice of focusing on what we can control is not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about cultivating the wisdom to know the difference between what we can influence and what we cannot. And it's about making the choice, every day, to focus our energy where it will truly make a difference. By mastering our responses, our actions, and our thoughts, we unlock the true power to live a life of purpose, meaning, and inner peace. Reason 5. The quiet strength of humility. The power of humility. Humility is often misunderstood. In a world that celebrates boldness, confidence, and outward success, humility can seem like a weakness. But in reality, true humility is one of the greatest strengths we can possess. It is not about diminishing ourselves or pretending we have no value. Instead, it is about recognizing our limitations, understanding our place in the world, and acting with grace, even in moments of success. Humility, as the Stoics taught, is an essential trait for living a peaceful and virtuous life. It allows us to stay grounded, even when life's circumstances might inflate our egos. The Stoics believed that the more we acknowledge the impermanence of our achievements and the limits of our control, the more we cultivate a strength that doesn't rely on external validation. Humility gives us the quiet strength to navigate life without needing to prove ourselves to anyone. The ego and its limitations. The ego, with its constant need for recognition and validation, often leads us astray. It is easy to get caught up in the desire to be noticed, to win approval, and to be seen as successful in the eyes of others. However, the Stoics understood that the ego is not a true reflection of our worth. It is simply an illusion, one that constantly seeks affirmation, but never finds lasting satisfaction. Humility provides an antidote to the inflated ego. By acknowledging that we are not superior to others and that our achievements are fleeting, we remove the need to compare ourselves to anyone. We focus less on our image and more on our actions, choosing to live according to our values rather than external expectations. This shift from ego-driven behavior to humility leads to a deeper, more lasting sense of peace. The wisdom of self-reflection. Humility also encourages self-reflection, an essential practice in the Stoic tradition. When we look inward, we become more aware of our flaws and weaknesses, as well as our strengths. This awareness allows us to grow, learn, and become better versions of ourselves. Self-reflection is not about self-criticism, but about honest assessment. It's about recognizing where we can improve and where we can continue to act with integrity. The more we engage in self-reflection, the more we come to understand that we are works in progress. This realization helps us stay humble, knowing that there is always room for growth, no matter how much we have already achieved. Humility in success and failure. One of the most powerful aspects of humility is its ability to help us navigate both success and failure. In moments of success, humility reminds us that our achievements are not solely the result of our own efforts. There are always external factors, people and circumstances that contribute to our successes. A humble person acknowledges this and remains grounded, avoiding arrogance or pride. On the other hand, in moments of failure, humility prevents us from succumbing to shame or self-pity. Instead of blaming others or external conditions, we look inward and ask what we can learn from the experience. Humility allows us to accept responsibility for our actions without letting failure define us. It helps us understand that setbacks are opportunities for growth and that our worth is not tied to our successes or failures, but to our ability to persevere and learn from both. Humility in relationships. In our relationships with others, humility plays a crucial role. It helps us treat others with respect, recognizing that everyone has their own struggles and strengths. Humility allows us to listen more than we speak, to understand rather than to judge, and to serve others rather than seeking to be served. Humility fosters empathy and compassion. It allows us to see beyond our own perspective and appreciate the experiences and emotions of others. When we approach relationships with humility, we cultivate trust and cooperation. Instead of seeing others as competitors or threats, we recognize them as fellow travelers on the journey of life. This perspective strengthens our connections and promotes harmony in our interactions. The courage to be vulnerable. Humility also requires the courage to be vulnerable. It's about acknowledging that we don't have all the answers, that we are not perfect, and that we may need help. In a society that often values strength and independence, vulnerability can be seen as a weakness. But in reality, it takes great strength to admit that we are not invincible and that we need others. Vulnerability is a cornerstone of true humility. It allows us to embrace our humanity and to connect with others on a deeper level. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we give others the opportunity to support us, and in turn, we build stronger, more authentic relationships. The freedom in letting go of pride. Pride is often the barrier that keeps us from experiencing true peace and connection. It creates distance between us and others, as we constantly compare ourselves and seek to prove our worth. But humility frees us from the chains of pride. By letting go of the need to be seen as better than others, we release ourselves from the constant pressure to perform and impress. In letting go of pride, we create space for genuine growth, connection, and peace. We stop worrying about how others perceive us, and instead focus on living a life that aligns with our values. Humility allows us to be fully present in each moment, without the distractions of ego or pride. Practical ways to cultivate humility. So, how can we cultivate humility in our daily lives? One practical step is to practice gratitude. Gratitude helps us recognize the blessings we have, while reminding us that we are not entitled to anything. It shifts our focus from what we lack to what we have, fostering a sense of humility and appreciation. Another way to develop humility is through acts of service. When we serve others, we acknowledge that our success and happiness are interconnected with the well-being of those around us. By giving without expecting anything in return, we remind ourselves that true fulfillment comes from helping others, not from seeking personal gain. Finally, we can cultivate humility through mindfulness and self-awareness. By regularly reflecting on our actions, thoughts, and emotions, we stay grounded in the present moment and avoid getting swept up in pride or self-importance. The more we practice mindfulness, the more we come to understand that humility is not something we achieve once and for all, but something we practice continuously. The quiet power of humility. Humility is not about self-deprecation or weakness. It is about recognizing our limitations, acting with grace, and living in accordance with our values. It is the quiet strength that allows us to navigate both success and failure with peace. By embracing humility, we let go of pride, ego, and the need for external validation, and we unlock a deeper, more lasting sense of freedom. In the end, it is through humility that we find the courage to be our authentic selves and the strength to live a life of purpose, connection, and inner peace. Reason 6. Leading by example, the true measure of leadership. In a world filled with talk, it is the action that truly defines leadership. Leadership is not about titles, accolades, or the loudest voice in the room. It's about influence, and the most powerful form of influence comes not from what we say, but from what we do. When we lead by example, we show others the way forward without needing to demand or command. True leaders inspire not by instruction, but by embodying the values and principles they want to see in others. As the Stoics taught, a leader's character is the foundation of their effectiveness. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic emperors, was revered not just for his power, but for his wisdom and humility. His actions spoke volumes, and it was through his example that he influenced the Roman Empire. The most profound form of leadership is leading by example, showing through our own behavior the kind of life and character we want others to adopt. Actions speak louder than words. In the modern world, it's easy to fall into the trap of speaking without truly embodying our words. In the age of social media and constant communication, anyone can voice their opinions or make grand statements. However, it is much harder to live up to those words. When we lead by example, we commit to living in accordance with the values we espouse. Our actions become the proof of our beliefs. The Stoics understood that the true measure of a person's character is found not in what they say, but in how they behave. It is easy to tell others what they should do, but it takes wisdom, integrity, and courage to show them through our own actions. When we consistently act with virtue, we set a standard for others to follow, not out of obligation, but out of respect and admiration for our actions. Consistency in action. One of the most important aspects of leading by example is consistency. Leadership that falters in its actions becomes unreliable and loses credibility. It is not enough to demonstrate good character or wise decisions once in a while. True leadership is built on consistent behavior, day in and day out. This consistency is what creates trust and admiration from others. For the Stoics, consistency was a core principle. It wasn't about showing virtue only when it was convenient or when others were watching. It was about living in accordance with their principles all the time, whether in public or private, in times of success or failure. The Stoics knew that leading by example requires an unwavering commitment to doing what is right, no matter the circumstances. The ripple effect of leadership. When we lead by example, the impact goes far beyond our immediate sphere. The way we act, the way we treat others, the way we handle challenges, and the way we live our values can inspire a ripple effect. Those who witness our actions often mirror them, either consciously or subconsciously. This is especially true when we lead with integrity, compassion, and humility. Consider the profound influence of figures like Gandhi or Martin Luther King Jr. Their leadership didn't come from their speeches alone, but from their unyielding commitment to their values. They led by example, and their actions sparked movements that changed the world. It is through such leadership that we can create lasting change, not by pushing others, but by demonstrating the way forward through our own lives. The courage to lead without recognition. Leading by example often requires us to act without the expectation of recognition or praise. It is easy to lead when others are watching, when the spotlight is on us. But the true strength of leadership is displayed when we lead without any guarantee of reward or recognition. The Stoics believed that virtue is its own reward, and that acting in accordance with what is right is the highest form of living. Leading without recognition is an act of courage. It requires the fortitude to stay true to our principles, even when we don't receive the accolades or praise we might think we deserve. This type of leadership is grounded in humility. We don't need external validation to validate our actions. We act because it is the right thing to do, because it reflects our values and our commitment to a greater purpose. Inspiring others through our example. Leadership by example also means inspiring others to be better versions of themselves. When we act with integrity, self-discipline, and wisdom, we invite others to do the same. This is not about trying to control or change others. Rather, it is about leading in such a way that others naturally feel motivated to follow our example. People are drawn to authentic leadership. They are inspired by those who live by their principles and who act with purpose. When we lead by example, we give others permission to do the same. We create a culture of mutual respect and growth, where everyone is encouraged to strive for the best version of themselves. The greatest leaders are not those who dominate, but those who inspire through the quiet power of their actions. The role of reflection in leadership. To lead by example, it is essential to engage in regular self-reflection. We must constantly examine our own actions and ask ourselves if we are living in alignment with the values we want to promote. It is easy to get caught up in the hustle of daily life and lose sight of our own principles. But effective leaders take the time to reflect, to check in with themselves, and to make sure they are leading by the highest standard possible. Self-reflection is key to ensuring that our leadership remains authentic and grounded in integrity. By consistently reflecting on our actions, we can correct course when necessary and continue to lead with purpose. This kind of leadership requires ongoing effort, but it is the most rewarding kind because it builds a foundation of trust, respect, and meaningful influence. The enduring power of leading by example. Ultimately, the greatest form of leadership is not one that is based on authority or position, but on the ability to inspire through our actions. Leading by example is a quiet, powerful force that influences others in ways that words alone cannot. It is about living in a way that reflects our values, guiding others not by directive, but by showing them the path through our own example. By committing to lead with integrity, consistency, and humility, we can create a legacy that extends far beyond our own lives. We can inspire others to live with purpose, to act with virtue, and to lead by their own example. When we embody the Stoic principles of wisdom, courage, and self-discipline, we create a ripple effect that has the potential to transform the world around us. The true measure of leadership is not in how many people follow us, but in how deeply our actions influence those who do. Conclusion. In the end, leadership is not about command or control. It is about influence, an influence that comes from living with integrity, humility, and unwavering principles. The Stoic philosophy teaches us that the most powerful form of leadership is one where actions speak louder than words. By leading through example, we inspire others not by force, but through the quiet strength of our own behavior. The world may demand noise, competition, and the constant pursuit of recognition. But true leaders find strength in stillness and consistency. They stay grounded in their values, act with purpose, and reflect upon their actions to ensure they are leading by the highest standard. It is this quiet strength, this commitment to living in alignment with one's principles, that truly defines a leader. When we lead by example, we do not only influence those directly around us, we create a ripple effect that can extend beyond our own lives and inspire others to strive for better. This form of leadership does not seek accolades but builds trust and respect, cultivating a legacy that inspires generations to come. The power of leading by example is rooted in the simple yet profound truth. Our actions are the most honest reflection of who we are. If we want to inspire, to lead, to leave a lasting impact, we must first live in accordance with the values we wish to promote. True leadership begins with self-discipline, humility, and the courage to remain steadfast in our principles. This is the path of the Stoic leader, and it is a path that can transform not only our own lives, but the lives of those we touch.